welcome back to my channel, Joy Crush, where you plus joy equals a self-love rush. And today I want to talk about being lonely while in a relationship. Because people think because you are in a relationship, you are not lonely. So I can tell you what makes people lonely is the fact that their needs are not being met. I think it was Freud. Freud has a hierarchy of needs, and different people have different needs. Like for me, my need is to be coddled at times. Like I'm weird. I don't want to be like coddled too much. Like if you're around me too much, then I'd be like, "Ooh, get away from me." But then if you're not around me enough, I'd be like, "You don't hug me." And I need to be told, like, you look beautiful today. Like, I need to be told that by my spouse, not like just random people. Like, those are the things that I need. I don't need to just be around you not saying nothing. I need to be able to have like good conversation with you. I talk a lot and I'd like to have intellectual conversations. So I need for you to be able to have those type of conversations with me. So if you are not able to do that, it makes me feel lonely. So I know that there's a lot of people who, have mates and spouses, and they're like, not really. I won't say that we're unhappy, because anytime a married person say anything negative about their spouse, or anybody in a relationship says something negative about the person they're with, somebody's gonna say, she sound like she ain't happy, he ain't happy with her, she ain't happy with him. No, bitch. How about I'm just having a bad day or a bad week or just a bad fucking time? Why can't it be just that? That doesn't necessarily mean that somebody is miserable right now. They just feel like their needs aren't being met. And we do in relationships sometimes vent more than what we should to people. That's what we make the mistake of doing things. If you have something to vent about, you need to vent to your spouse. If there's something that your spouse or your mate is not doing, you have to go directly to that person, because how do they know how to correct anything, or the way of correcting anything, if they don't even know that there is actually a problem that does exist? For example, if you just want, like, you get off of work and you come home and your mate is sitting on their phone, like on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, and you're just laying there next to them, and they really haven't even acknowledged that you are there. That's not necessarily that that person doesn't care about you. It's just, it could be the fact of they're just addicted to being on their phone. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're anything else. It doesn't mean that they have to be cheating. It could just be like, I'm bored and this is just what I want to do. However, if you feel like that's an issue for you, you need to tell your mate or tell your spouse, like, hey, do you have to be on your phone all day? Or like, hey, can you put your phone down for a minute while we talk about this? Because deliverance is everything. If you come off crazy, like you trying to control me, bitch, every day I'm gonna be on my phone, because I'm gonna be like, you telling me what to do? I'm about to, no, like, it's just not gonna happen. Approach is everything, and the way people conceptualize the way the approach is makes all the difference in what type of response you'll get. So, um, you know, that kind of is one of the big things where people say, like, I'm lonely and this person is right next to me, and they're right next to you, but they're not engaging you. They're not even acknowledging your presence. So if you are that person who isn't acknowledging your mate or your spouse's presence, then do so. Like watching this video, you may not even be aware that you are doing so. Just like for myself, I came across this problem in my own marriage where my husband was like, you always on your phone. And I was thinking, like, it wasn't even anything that I noticed, because I wasn't doing anything on my phone. Like 9 times out of 10, I probably was playing Candy Crush, and I was on like level 597 or something of Candy Crush. And it wasn't that. It was just like, okay, I know you're here. Like, what do you need? Like, what do you want? It wasn't anything more than that. But then once he said that, I will say it made me pay more attention to him, because we are just two different type of people. And like I said earlier in the video, people have needs, and there's a hierarchy of needs. For example, you need to learn your mate's or your spouse's love language. It's good. If you haven't done so already, Google like the love language quiz. When I say that shit is accurate, that shit is accurate. Like my love language was gifts and like gifts and words of affirmation or something like that. And what did I just tell y'all earlier? Like, I want to be told that I'm pretty, blah blah blah. And then the gifts part, at first I was like, it's like 5 different love languages, and I said specifically, I was like, gifts would not be one of them. They'll do yours in order, like the top 3. Gifts was my number 1. Now I do like gifts, but my gifts are like small gifts of, I want you to just do something to let me know that you're thinking about me. And it explains that in the quiz, where when it says gifts, it says like cards, small gestures, and that is what they consider gifts. And I was like, oh, that's definitely me. That's number 1 for me. I like for you to randomly just say, like, leave me a note in my car that says, thinking about you, sweetie, love you. And I'm like, oh, or like go to the gas station and you buy me a single flower. So, and I tell my husband that all the time, and his response is, I ain't getting you no cheap ass flower. But his love language is time. It was something about time. And I was like, ooh, child, if that ain't the truth. Because he loves just being around me, like spending time. But he's like a homebody. I'm not. I'm boisterous. I'm social. He's always been like that. And I've always been the social butterfly, like really. So that's another thing where we see like the difference. And so going back to the rose thing, and he said like a cheap ass flower. For him, his way of showing me love is spending money expensively on me. And I can say over and over, like, no, I just want the small things. I just want the small things. He looks at it like, you deserve this though. So that's where you kind of have to find a balance there, because we speak 2 different love languages. However, you have to be willing to accept the way that somebody does love you, if it is appropriate. So what he does is not inappropriate. It's just not really what I like, but it works. It's not something negative. But what he has started to do, like, I am big on cards. And I remember it was Valentine's Day. And I think he got me like a pair of Gucci sneakers. And I opened the Gucci sneakers and I was like, where my card at? And he was like, a card? And I'm like, yeah, where my card at? Like, I save every single card that I get from anyone. And he's like, dude, you tripping on a fucking card? And I was like, you give me a card. Because I look at cards as symbolic. It lets me look at the card year by year, like, okay, this is where we were at this year in our marriage. This is where we were at this year in our relationship. It helps me to go back and see how he felt that day. He's looking at it like, bitch, I just spent $900 some on these damn sneakers, and you talking about a dollar store card. And I'm just like, yeah. So, you know, when I'm talking about being lonely in a relationship and things like that, I'm just trying to give you some tools to help you not to feel lonely, and tools to help you help your partner to not make you feel lonely as well. And you never know, you might not be doing enough for your partner to want to even engage with you. Like I said, find out what that person likes. If they're ignoring you, there may be other reasons that you may just not be aware of. Like I said in another video, for men and women, if you as a woman or as a man don't respect your partner, you really don't engage well with them. And that's just being honest. And when I say respect, like if you're a guy who doesn't have a job and your woman, your spouse, your mate is like upholding the household, I'm gonna be honest, Women, we could say we support you and it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right for a very short amount of time before we start feeling like, all right, you need to be doing something. And we slowly start losing respect because one thing that women feel like we want somebody who is able to protect us, provide for us if we're not able to do something. And for men, men expect to have a woman who is able to care for the household, the kids, if something goes wrong with him. So we kind of want the same things. However, um, when those things are not being met, that's when the breakdown comes through and we start feeling like we're lonely and our needs aren't being met. Um, and just being able to tell your mate, spouse, or whatever, I love you randomly telling someone they're beautiful, randomly telling your husband like how great of a father he is, or your mate how great of a guy he is, and the things that you like about them. Like sometimes just randomly saying that, and even if you're not comfortable verbally saying it, send them a text like while you're at work, while you're at home with the kids, just send something saying like, I see and acknowledge that you've been working hard, and I just want you to know that I appreciate you. Simple things like that makes a huge difference in a relationship, and that kind of opens the window for you to not feel lonely and you to feel like I am loved, because I feel like being lonely correlates with feeling unloved, because love is not loneliness. It is not. Even I go through those stages where I'm just like, I feel so alone. And I start looking at stuff on Pinterest like lonely quotes, wife who's lonely quotes and shit. And then I'd be reading them like, yeah, exactly. And he don't even acknowledge it. He don't even acknowledge it. And I may like post it on Instagram or something. And then my husband will text me the next morning like, I read what you posted on Instagram. It seems like we need to talk. So when we get home, let's talk. And I'll be like, okay. But sometimes I'm like, no, because talking doesn't work. And I talk, you listen, but you don't hear me. Because that's the difference too. You have to be able to listen to someone and not just listen, but hear them. Big difference. Because hearing them involves acknowledging and making changes to what they're saying. Because I can tell you all day, hey, I'm tired. Hey, I'm tired. This is what I want. A man can do the same thing, like tell you, I just want to come home from work to a home cooked meal. And you're like, okay, don't do it. When that man start looking for somebody else, or that woman start looking for somebody else, then you know why. You have to be able to acknowledge the loneliness and get it figured out. Um, if not, you're going to lose the relationship. So, again, the biggest thing with addressing loneliness in a relationship is talking, communication. And again, it all goes back to having a relationship with God as well, and being comfortable with yourself. Have a good relationship with yourself first. Oh, and that's what I was going to say too. Sometimes people can't like provide things that they don't have. Like you can't provide something that you don't have. Like if you don't have good communication skills, you can't communicate well. If I don't have $100 to give, I can't give it. Like that's how I look at life too. Like we expect to get certain things from certain people. Like even a lot of times I'll hear this from people. I tell my wife she's beautiful, but she act like she doesn't get it. She don't get it because she herself has to understand that she's beautiful. That is something she needs to work on with herself. You can help her work on that with herself. However, she has to be able to get it herself. Things that you can do is continue to encourage her. And it's not always the physical portion of things, at least not for me. When my husband tells me like, sweetie, you're so smart. Like the other day I asked him like, what's my best feature? I thought he was going to say my butt. And he was like, your brain. And I was like, all right. Yeah, because you know me. I was like, my brain. He was like, yeah, you're just so smart. That's one thing I love about you. You're so smart. I was like, oh. I was like, well, you know what I love about you? The fact that you are so genuine and you're encouraging. Like, this man is so encouraging and empowering. Like, he's positive all the time. Like, all the time. Even like when I try to argue, it only goes so far because he will be positive, and it's just like, shut the fuck up. And it gets me back to not being as mad because, like, well, sweetie, we gonna do this, we gonna do that. And I just be like, yeah, you right, we right, you right, you so right. Uh, so, again, just going back to the feeling of being lonely in a relationship is not fair. It's not a good feeling. However, you have to be able to communicate well with the person that you're with in order to get rid of that. Tell that person, hey, look, I don't like you on the phone all day. Again, don't deliver it like that. Just say, like, hey, how about at this time we do this? Like, if you notice there's a certain time of day that they are on the phone, like when they get off of work, or you guys come in the house together, like, make a plan. Like, when you come home, like, hey, when we get home, let's watch a movie at this time, just so it can pull them away from it. And I feel like when people don't recognize and do stuff that you are asking of them, they're not um, vested, invested, or vested in the relationship the way you are. And sometimes you do need to realize when it's time to let go. But I feel like you need to exhaust everything. Um, and remember, like, loneliness comes and goes. We're not always going to have good days. We're not always going to have good weeks. Things happen in life, and we just have to be able to roll through the punches and get through it. Like, that's what makes being in a marriage and in a lasting relationship work. It's not that it's easy, it's the fact that there's two people who are willing to work together to make shit work, to communicate with each other before things get so far gone that there's no mending the situation. So again, I hope this video was helpful to someone out there who feels like they are lonely in a relationship. Um, if you have any other comments or suggestions that you would like for me to speak on, or if there's something that I didn't touch and you just have a question, let me know in the comments and I'll try to address that in that area. And remember to check me out on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share, and also on Instagram and Facebook, both at Joy Crush. And you can check out my website as well. It's www.joy-crush.com. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you.